The chant is familiar by now. The island, the blackmail, the secret list. For years, the public has been locked into a lurid tabloid melodrama, obsessing over flight logs and internet conspiracies. This diagram illustrates a concept known as a heat sink. When a story becomes this spectacular and this ugly, it generates an intense gravitational pull. It absorbs our collective attention, making it nearly impossible to notice the events sitting right next to it. While the country stared into the center of that scandal, the ancient practice of sizing people up and sorting them by their traits migrated out of the social world and into laboratories, algorithms, and fertility clinics. To see the actual scale of this shift, we have to look past the idea of a coordinated villain team-up. Instead, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein appear as two separate figures operating at opposite ends of a single continuum of human selection. The noise of the scandal created a specific kind of blindness. It fused these two men into a single moral panic, making it difficult to distinguish between a grotesque private fantasy and a rapidly maturing public industry. A beauty pageant is an honest, stylized ritual for doing in public what humans have always done: appraising, scoring, and ranking specific traits for the sake of future rewards. Trump actively modified the systems he purchased. At the 2009 Miss USA pre-show, he was recorded explaining the Trump Rule, a manual override he invented to ensure that contestants who met his specific eye for beauty advanced regardless of the judges' scores. Eventually, that preoccupation with fitness and appraisal scaled outward, moving from the theater of the pageant stage into federal statecraft. In 2025, he signed an executive order to expand access to in vitro fertilization and negotiated drug discounts that cut the cost of IVF medications by 84%. He paired these moves with a pro-natalist baby boom agenda, putting the state's thumb on the scale of American reproduction. This represents the social, legal end of the spectrum, a system of selection governed loudly and in the open as a matter of policy. Epstein occupied the hidden, biological end of that same spectrum, driven by transhumanist fantasies of seeding the human race with his own DNA. He used his wealth to buy a seat at the table of elite science. In 2003, he founded the program for evolutionary dynamics at Harvard, a gift that secured him an office on campus and years of access to researchers studying heredity and cooperation. His reported plan to impregnate dozens of women at his New Mexico ranch was a pseudo-scientific bid to improve the gene pool, a grotesque private fantasy wearing the costume of modern biotech. Epstein was not the architect of modern genomics. He was a symptom of a much larger preoccupation with human quality that was maturing through respectable channels while the public remained distracted. While the country debated the details of the island, polygenic embryo scoring became an active commercial reality. Today, firms analyze embryos for the statistical odds of complex diseases and traits before a pregnancy even begins. Startups like Nucleus Genomics and Heliospect offer to rank embryos for health risks alongside complex traits like fluid intelligence and IQ. In some cases, couples pay up to $50,000 to screen for the best possible outcome. The next frontier is in vitro gametogenesis, or IVG. Researchers are working to manufacture functional reproductive eggs from ordinary skin cells, a process that has already succeeded in mice. If science can manufacture unlimited eggs, it can multiply the embryos available for selection. When embryos are no longer a scarce resource, the power to choose among them grows exponentially. This venture-funded ecosystem operates within the existing legal framework of fertility medicine. It is a biological sorting machine that is arriving in plain sight. Society remains paralyzed by a reflex of disgust, rooted in the genuine horrors of 20th century eugenics. This makes it almost impossible to have a rational conversation about the voluntary commercial screening happening right now. That panic creates a vacuum. It teaches institutions and scientists that honesty is dangerous, which drives the most consequential research into a world of euphemism and silence. The Dickey-Wicker Amendment blocks federal money for research that creates or destroys embryos. However, that ban only applies to public funding. It leaves private, venture-backed laboratories entirely untouched and unregulated. Because we are too afraid to discuss the technology openly, well-capitalized startups are currently pushing the boundaries of human engineering with almost zero public oversight. Selection is an ancient, inescapable human mechanism. It cannot be abolished, it can only be managed, made transparent, or driven underground. The real choice is between a system of selection we can see and regulate, or a hidden one that functions only for those with the wealth to access it. We have to move past the tabloid melodramas and demand a transparent, adult conversation about the future of human engineering before that future is engineered for us.